I think we're all set. Hopefully the tech continues to work.
Stuff. Yep, it's always the way, isn't it? I just had
Absolutely.
camera issues, but I think I'm in view now. Otherwise, you'd have just had like half my.
Yeah. Always dramas with tech,
Indeed.
including at our place where we consider ourselves a leading tech
Ahead of the
company
game.
now. I know.
Indeed.
All
Stuff.
good.
I think we can let people in now as well. Hello, everyone. If you could just mute yourself, that would be great. Good to see you all. I will make a start. Okay, great. So I can be heard, can I? Yeah, great stuff. Okay. So welcome everyone to the August Sector Chat, looking at support that is available for those impacted by financial abuse. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from Gadigal land of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and commit here to ongoing allyship, listening and learning, which takes showing up and always reflecting critically. Please be aware that Domestic Violence New South Wales will be recording today's sector chat for members who are unable to attend today's session. We've had lots of emails. So firstly, I'll start with an update and then we'll introduce our guests. I'd like to invite you all to complete our annual member survey. And as a member organisation, we're here to support you and the sector you work in. This is a really important opportunity to provide feedback so we can get a better understanding of what benefits you get from being a member and if there's anything here at DV New South Wales we could improve on. The survey is anonymous, so you can be completely honest with us. We really appreciate your time. It will take about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, and the survey closes on the 27th of August, and the link has just gone in the chat box. Thanks, members. Next, if you haven't had a chance to purchase your tickets for our 50-year conference, the link is now going into the chat box. The conference will be held on the 18th and 19th of September in Surrey Hills, and we have an incredible programme featuring subject matter experts, practitioners, speakers, panellists, and people with lived expertise. It's a great opportunity to celebrate and acknowledge 50 years of the sector, the 50th year that we're on right now, and to look forward at the future, that what it could hold for us. If you'd like to include any relevant content, brochures, flyers for the conference, delegate bags, please let admin know by the 23rd of August, and we'll just throw their email in there too. Now, Thursday next week, we're hosting a really important roundtable. It's members only, and it's on access to crisis accommodation for people on temporary visas. This is a chance to hear about the issues from the front lines and determine how we can work together within the system we have, whilst advocating on the much needed improvements we know we want to see. If you haven't registered yet, please email Emily. Her address is in the chat box now. We really need your voice. Thank you. The first round of statewide sector consultations to inform the development of the domestic and family violence quality standards have now been completed. And gosh, that's been huge work here. A consultation session with the DV New South Wales Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Women's Steering Committee is currently taking place. And further, the Quality Standards team will be meeting with the Migrant and Refugee Advisory Committee in early September. So analysis of key themes that have emerged through the consultation process is currently underway, and we're looking forward to sharing those learnings and recommendations with you and in our Quality Standards report. And by continuing conversations with the sector across the next 2 years for this exciting project. And as many of you know, we see this as long-term work if we're to do this correctly for our sector. If you'd like to be involved in any further consultations or hear more about the Quality Standards project, please contact Carrie and Danielle from the Quality Standards project team, and their email is in the chat box now. Finally, a reminder that there will be no sector chat scheduled in September due to our conference, which I think we can't believe is next month. That has been a massive planning by the team here. So our next sector chat will be Tuesday, the 15th of October, and we'll be focusing on the primary prevention space and what we expect to see in the New South Wales Primary Prevention Plan, which we're sure will be launched by then. Now on to today's sector chat topic. discussing support that is available for those impacted by financial abuse. The Commonwealth Bank of Australia, CommBank, has a long-term commitment to address domestic and family violence and financial abuse under CommBank's next chapter. Through this commitment, CommBank has partnered with Good Shepherd to establish a financial independence hub, a service to provide support to those impacted by financial abuse to rebuild their confidence and financial independence. Good Shepherd Australia New Zealand is a not-for-profit community organisation and Australia's oldest organisation dedicated to ensuring women, girls and families are safe, strong, well and connected. So on to today's presenters. We're lucky enough to have two awesome people. Firstly, we have Gunjan Pargay, the Executive Manager of the Community Investment at CommBank, and Louise Altright, National Programme Manager of the Financial Independence Hub Good Shepherd. Gunjan is a financial services leader advocating for the provision of extra care for people and communities in vulnerable circumstances. He works very closely with us at the Peak, and in his role at CommBank, which is a group-wide commitment to help end financial abuse and support people on their road to long-term financial independence. And this is really important work regardless of whoever's banking, whatever bank, this is the support that Gunjan's been providing. Gunjan is helping build organisational and community capability to better serve people experiencing vulnerability, and he will speak to that today. He was a finalist at the 2019 Human Rights Awards for his work in building financial capability of newly arrived refugees in Australia, as well as a CEO Award recipient in 2021. Louise Altright is the National Programme Manager of the Financial Independence Hub at Good Shepherd, a programme co-designed to build financial independence, confidence and well-being for people who have experienced family and domestic violence and financial abuse. Louise has 20 years experience working in community services, providing her with a deep understanding of the complex issues facing individuals as they recover and heal. Louise is committed to family and domestic violence prevention and recovery, and particularly increasing understanding about financial abuse, its prevalence, and its long-term impacts. We're so grateful for both Louise and Gunjan to be here today, and I know this has been in the making for a while now. So our huge welcomes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delia, and really appreciate you having us today. I would also like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I am, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. These unceded lands have been beautifully cared for by the oldest living culture on the planet, land which will always remain Aboriginal land. First of all, again, many thanks to you, Delia, and your team at DV New South Wales for inviting us to this sector chat. It's a milestone year for all of you, being your 50th birthday, and it's absolutely an honor for us to be participating and partnering with DV New South Wales, not just for today's sector chat, but also the 50-year conference that you mentioned. I think it's absolutely imperative that we acknowledge the contribution over the last 50 years that DV New South Wales has been advocating for our communities to be free of violence against women, and the amazing work that you do in representing all the members here at the front line who are working hard every day to support victim survivors and their families and helping eliminate this scourge of domestic and family violence. So we owe a big thanks to you all for what you do, particularly DV New South Wales. My name is Gunjan Pagare. I'm the Executive Manager, Community Investment, and as Delia mentioned, I have the privilege of supporting CommBank's work on addressing domestic and family violence, particularly financial abuse. Very grateful that I'm joined by my amazing colleague Lou Altright, National Program Manager of the Financial Independence Hub at Good Shepherd. Lou and I are going to take you through this very pervasive and insidious issue of financial abuse, touch a little bit about what it is, how it impacts people, and most importantly, the support available through the work CommBank is doing, particularly in partnership with Good Shepherd, support that's available to anyone, regardless of who you bank with. So in terms of the format of the presentation, I'll spend about 10 minutes taking through some of the overarching work that CommBank's been doing, and then hand over to Lou, who will take you through the work that Good Shepherd's done with the Financial Independence Hub, and very importantly, the services available. And the ask is for you to consider, how the Financial Independence Hub could support clients under your care, particularly in frontline services. So just before I start, obviously, just noting self-care. You're all experts in this space, so I won't mention too much in terms of getting into the detail. But yeah, absolutely, just making a mention of the content. Um, just by way of a start again, also wanted to acknowledge the incredibly courageous survivor advocates who are a part of the sector, who might also be in this conversation today. Survivor advocates who channel their pain and trauma into their advocacy for better outcomes for victim survivors. Um, Voice of lived experience have been very important in the work that we've been doing in responding to domestic and family violence, and we're very grateful for those survivor advocates who've continued to share their experience with us and have guided us. And it's with the permission of one such survivor advocate that I would like to share their lived experience and take you through the work that we've been doing as a part of Next Chapter. So we're just going to call her Jackie, obviously de-identified. Uh, Her story is only paraphrased to honor her incredible resilience, courage, and tenacity. This is Jackie's story. In her words, I'll read through it to honor her voice and her lived experience the way she wanted us to describe it. Um, so Jackie's ex-husband and her had separated on a final basis when their children were both under 4 years old. Prior to separation, she told us that her credit score was about 980, considered very good. She had a rewarding career, co-owned two properties with her ex-husband, a family home, and an investment property. Although Jackie had unfortunately lived in an abuse cycle for a decade, she never considered sort of post-separation abuse possible. Certainly not when she thought, I'm financially savvy, financially secure, empowered for a better life with a strong salary and a beautiful support network of family and friends. I can sustain this despite his efforts to stop me financially, emotionally, or physically. Turns out I could not. Um, and these are her words. And post separation, Jackie encountered thousands in stolen surplus mortgage funds, daycare fee fraud, many thousands in moving costs, mortgage repayments, paying even for months when her ex partner ceased contributing, which ultimately she could not sustain. Thousands that she spent restoring her credit, uh, restoring her home in renovations, listing her family home for sale, legal fees, psychologist fees. Overall, unfortunately, she lost about $450,000 in profit in the sale of her property following a major renovation when her ex-husband refused to sign the agency agreements, uh, spiraled into the family home being listed in the possession of the mortgagee. The investment property also got listed for mortgagee sale when she could no longer maintain repayments. Unfortunately, the mortgage wasn't with CBA. She said how she watched her credit scores sort of dwindle down to 280 points. The kids were forced to flee their home with her, effectively rendering them homeless, ultimately fled interstate due to violence. Overall, she says her economic loss post separation was a staggering $600,000. Um, Unfortunately, Jackie's story is not unique. The scale of the issue is quite significant, and you probably have been reading the personal survey, safety survey data that comes out quite regularly. Uh, this year, they focused on financial abuse, and um, 1 in 6 women uh, have been noted as experiencing economic abuse from their cohabiting partner, and that's 1.6 million women. And despite sort of growing awareness of the issue of DFV, these non-physical forms of violence are generally very less understood. So, financial abuse, if I have to just give you an overview about how it is, and you're probably seeing this play out in the work that you do on a daily basis. It's a very powerful way perpetrators can keep someone trapped in an abusive relationship. And what we're seeing is that it may not stop even after she leaves, sometimes for many years. And uh, sometimes the financial abuse escalates after separation as well. Um, it is, in simple words, coercion and control by way of money, and plays out in several tactics. And again, you're probably seeing this in your practice when you support clients. Perpetrators could be controlling access to bank accounts, preventing victim survivors from working or studying. Uh, we see a lot of coerced debt when they've not consented to taking on debt, and they've had to sign up to debt where they don't get any benefit of the money, which is being taken on credit. Plainly hiding money or assets from the victim survivor. It can involve controlling household income, paying an allowance to victim survivors, preventing access from accessing information about their finances, providing receipts about things that they spend money on, and then punishing them for purchases made without permission. It's also in other forms of family violence that you might be seeing, where there's power of attorney abuse, sabotaging existing employment, withdrawing funds from joint bank accounts. So there's multiple tactics that we're starting to see. And in regards to the perpetration and the cost, uh, we commissioned some research in 2020 and with Deloitte, and that the told us that the cost to victim survivors just in 2020 alone was about $5.7 billion, and the cost more broadly to the economy was another $5.2 billion. So you can see the scale of the issue is really significant. Just to give you a very quick snapshot of how CommBank's been involved, it was back in 2015 when Rosie Batty became Australian of the Year, that she called on each one of us to do our part to address domestic and family violence. And we started looking at how do we provide support to our customers and communities. And we started by raising awareness within our own employee base. We started sort of supporting customers initially by providing tailored assistance. Uh, we did a lot of training for our colleagues to make sure that they understood the incidents of family violence that we were seeing in terms of customers coming and asking for help, and started preparing better resources to create awareness. And in 2020, basically what we launched was what you see now as CommBank Next Chapter. Um, so the three main areas of focus for us. One, we want to make sure that we continue to provide really exceptional support to our customers. And I'll take you through a little bit of what we're doing at the moment in the bank. Support advocacy. We want to make sure that we continue to raise awareness of this issue, and prevention. What is it that financial institutions like us can do within our own sphere of influence, particularly when it comes to prevention? So for our customers, number one, who um, we owe the foremost responsibility to in terms of this work, What we've started off in 2020 was the establishment of a dedicated team, which we call as the Next Chapter team. And for our customers who are worried about their finances because of domestic violence or coercion or control, or who are experiencing financial abuse, this dedicated Next Chapter team can provide free confidential support. Um, and that support looks like, number one, providing immediate banking assistance. For example, if they've got locked out of their bank account, opening up a safe account so that they start controlling money that's rightly theirs. If the perpetrator has got unauthorized access over their account, removing that unauthorized access, uh, giving them control back. The team also provides assistance by way of hardship. So if the victim survivor is unable to pay their debts, there are hardship provisions that can be invoked, and liaising with our hardship teams to make sure that that support is available immediately. Then connecting the victim survivor to a range of external services, whether they are crisis support services or much longer term support, for example, that Lou is going to talk about through the Financial Independence Hub. Just to give you a scale of the issue that we're seeing, since 2020, this particular Next Chapter team has supported more than 53,000 interactions with people impacted by domestic and family violence. So that just gives you the extent of how much support is required. In terms of the action 3, where we're talking about building a fact base and raising awareness, we've partnered with a number of academics just to provide a bit of an evidence base on what financial abuse is. Particularly, I want to note the partnership with the University of New South Wales Gendered Violence Research Network. You would have heard of Professor Jan Breckenridge and her team. They've been partnering with us for a number of years now, and a number of papers have been put together. So if you're interested in that, please look up our financial abuse resource center on CommBank's website. There's some really interesting resources on prevalence of financial abuse in different contexts, like in Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander communities, in cultural and linguistically diverse communities. How does it get perpetrated, particularly in cohorts like people with disabilities, and what support is available. I'll come to the action 4 as well before I come back to the support for long-term recovery through the Financial Independence Hub. Uh, in terms of prevention, just to give you a very quick snippet, we started sort of uncovering a range of um, interactions that people or transactions that people were sending through our CommBank app and our internet banking platform NetBank, where people will using the transaction description functionality to abuse someone. And we realized that people were using that functionality to send sometimes as low as 1 cent transaction when they were sending money to another person, mostly to the victim survivor. So instead of sending money, they were actually using that functionality to send abuse. And we were seeing some really horrific forms of abuse. So in 2020, taken action. We've put a blocker on our CommBank app and internet banking, so people cannot use that functionality anymore and use abusive language. But we've realized that perpetrators will always be a step forward, and they are still trying to misuse that by not using swear words, but still, using forms of language that could be very abusive. So, for example, if a victim survivor feels that they've taken out a ABO and they are safe, at the moment, the perpetrator does not know their location, and they get a transaction description one day which says, "You're looking very pretty today," with a 1 cent transaction. Now, "you're looking very pretty today" does not have any abusive language. It can pass through that platform, but you can imagine the horror when the victim survivor sees that on her bank account and in her statements. So we're using machine learning and artificial intelligence now to detect these kind of patterns of abuse, and these serious cases, the high risk cases, get elevated to a human expert who will then make sure that they understand what's going on in that scenario and then provide support. If you're also in some instances where we get explicit consent from the victim survivor, also are able to provide a referral to the New South Wales Police in a pilot that's undergoing at the moment. So a lot of focus on you know prevention at our end. But you might be thinking about what else is on the landscape. So just very quickly, a range of partnerships that we announced recently in regards to um, uncovering what might be the best practice in, for example, scenarios where we're seeing tech facilitated abuse. So under a program called Next Chapter Innovation, we've partnered with YFS, who are doing some amazing work on technology sweeps. Uh, the issue of diary abuse, amazing organization called ICSA in New South Wales is working on frameworks to better understand how that plays out. Financial abuse in case of small businesses is a serious issue that we're looking at. Financial abuse in multicultural communities, particularly the work that Afghan women on the move are doing, and with the Illawarra Women's Recovery Center, which is very recently opened, they'll be providing information on frameworks to better support victim survivors who've experienced financial abuse. So you might be wondering what happened to Jackie, and I'll just very quickly come back to her story before I hand over to Lou. Um, Jackie said uh, she was referred to Good Shepherd when she was in a utter state of exhaustion. She said many a days she didn't want to wake up. She did not have suicide ideation, but she just needed a reprieve and everything to stop. Um, she says of all her experiences with DV, financial abuse was the one ongoing issue that I could not solve and in turn heal from. It was that layer of abuse which continues to wreak havoc and stunt ultimate peace and progression in life for women and children. Um, she unfortunately was evicted from the family home by the mortgagee, fled interstate, as I'd mentioned, with two traumatized children. Um, she lost her job, had to resign from the company that she'd been working for the last 2 decades. She said she felt like rock bottom and was emotionally depleted. And um, the words of her perpetrator sort of rang in her head all the time. And he said that he will make her bankrupt, and that you and the kids will live in housing commission. Um, it was really fortunate that she got referred to Good Shepherd, and when she made contact with the Financial Independence Hub, um, she was assisted by a financial counselor who constantly validated what she'd believed to be failures on her part, championed for her advocacy and efforts with a lot of debtors, allowed her to park her stress while the financial counselor dealt with the issues. Um, in summary, through the financial counselor and the financial coach, she was able to take off about 300K in debt, repair her credit rating, got her finances back in order, purchased an acreage, paid off her vehicle loan in full. And she says the immeasurable aspect of the support that she's got from Good Shepherd is the finality that my ex-husband has lost the last form of control he had over mine and the kids' lives. And we are now finally free from all forms of the abuse cycle. So just goes to show a little bit of support can go a very, very long way in transforming people's lives who were impacted by domestic and family violence. And just want to close off by saying this kind of support is available to anyone, regardless of who you bank with. Even though CommBank provides that funding to Good Shepherd, it is not restricted to anyone based on where they bank. It is available to anyone. Um, we can do a lot in terms of providing support, but the main issue there is making sure that there is awareness, right? So we're doing a lot of work in regards to spreading awareness. I'll just very quickly share this video with you before I go to Lou.
Financial abuse can keep someone trapped in an abusive relationship. Starting a conversation can make a huge difference to someone's life. So if you're concerned someone you know is at risk, remember to talk. T is for trust your instincts. If you notice red flags, don't ignore them. Red flags can include someone controlling their partner's access to money, taking out loans or debts in their name, or preventing them from earning an income. A is for ask openly and gently. This may include following up obvious signs of distress or changes in their behaviour. L is for listen actively. Let your friend tell their story in their own words. Try not to jump to conclusions on their behalf. K is for know the support available. The CommBank Next Chapter team can provide free and confidential support, no matter who you bank with. For more information on how to support a family member or a friend experiencing financial abuse, search CommBank Next Chapter.
With that, I'll just hand over to Lou, and we'll probably have about 10 minutes at the end for a Q&A after Lou finishes up, so we can take any questions then. Lou, over to you.
Thanks, Gunjan. And thanks everyone for having Gunjan and I here today. It's a real opportunity to connect and chat with you all. I'm joining you today from the unceded lands of the Bunurong people down here in Naarm. So I'm calling from Victoria, so please forgive me, New South Wales folks. And for anyone that wasn't here right at the beginning, my name is Louise, all right, everyone calls me Lou, and I'm the National Program Manager for FIH. FIH is short for Financial Independence Hub, because we do love an acronym. And we have just celebrated moving it our 4-year birthday, so not quite 50. So congratulations to you, DB New South Wales. It's quite a massive achievement, and thank you for all the work that you all do. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to work alongside you and everyone here. FIH is, as Gunjan said, funded by CBA, but we are part of Good Shepherd, who, as Gunjan said, is one of the longest running community organisations, especially an organisation focusing on women, girls and families being safe and strong and connected. So as I said, FIH is 4, but we've really been developing this program over 5 years, because in the first 12 months we had a co-design process with lots of lived experience advocates and sector colleagues giving us guidance and input on how to design and develop the initial setup of the program, and have continued that approach as we iterate and grow and learn. And 4 years, a lot has happened in that 4 years, it's safe to say, for all of us. So we continue to evolve FIH and continue to work in that space of working with people who've experienced family violence and economic abuse. Next slide, please, Gunjan. Yeah. So in terms of who we are and what we do, so we are, my team are an amazing group of humans, and I know I'm always the person that gets to come and talk to people, but they're the ones who are doing the work all day, every day. Answering the phone and not knowing what will be there is a really tricky role. And so just always like to acknowledge the work that they do, and the way that they do that in a really trauma-informed and caring way. We always think about how can we welcome someone into the hub, how can we take good care of them, how can we reassure them, and how can we help reduce some of that, especially shame. We experience a lot of people sharing their disbelief when they contact us. there's shame about how they got here, how they don't really understand how they got here. And often people will say, I just feel so stupid for letting this happen. We know that's not the case, but that's often the way that people will turn up at our front door. So we have a team of people. So we have hub coordinators who are the meeters and greeters. So they open the front door figuratively and welcome people in and get to know them, understand what it is that they may want from the hub, whether we can provide that or we can connect them through to other services. We also have financial coaches who do that longer term, really goal-focused, action-taking work. I'm going to go a bit more into that in a bit. And then the financial counsellors who are really looking at the pre-existing issues around debt and impacts around credit checks and credit ratings and future things that impact someone's ability to kind of to recover and regain that financial independence. So we are a national program, so you don't have to remember anything about anything other than we're national. So you don't have to write postcodes or any of those things. We are online and in person. So we run our program from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. AEST. But we do have some in-person options, and we're increasing that footprint of ours through Good Shepherd sites and also co-locating in sites across Vic, New South Wales and Queensland. So that is something we're open to growing in New South Wales. So please, if that is something you'd be interested for your service, reach out to us. And we have some network development leads in our team who will take you on that journey of partnering with us. We don't have a specified time limit, so we don't have a session limit or an hours limit. The limit is if you're working with us meaningfully and about your financial abuse and your financial recovery, we will work with you. Obviously, it needs to be purposeful, and there are some parameters around that, but we don't have a predetermined specified limit. And that came through incredibly strongly in the co-design, which probably for everyone in this space is no great surprise, but it is something that we're really proud to offer to people and be guided by them. And importantly, the financial abuse and family violence doesn't need to be current. So some people come and they're like, this happened 5 years ago and I'm still trying to muddle my way through 10 years ago. We know that post-separation abuse, especially financial abuse, continues long beyond the relationship. And we also know it's a key driver to people returning to abusive relationships or finding themselves in future abusive relationships. So really, I guess we're trying to remove barriers to people accessing this service by having a really open criteria. Yeah, that's an overview. Next slide. Thank you, Gunjan. So yeah, this just kind of in a more succinct way highlights, I guess, that those things around how our open criteria. So really, you can be of any gender, over 18, and we do support people on any visa type. So as long as they're living in Australia at this point, they can be on any visa. And I know you talked about this at the beginning, Delia, that challenge around housing. It's obviously a challenge around a myriad of issues, and financially it's really difficult. And we have worked with people who have been on spousal visas and immigration visas and tourist visas even, which we all, I'm sure, aware get abused as part of this cycle. So it's really great that we are able to work with people without worrying about their residency status. Obviously, people don't need to provide evidence of financial abuse. We'll just take people on their word. And importantly, as Gunjan also called out, there is no need to be a customer of CBA. You can be, but you don't need to be. And what we, I think, just to call out here for anyone who has heard of FIH before today, as part of the evolution that we've gone through, we've really revised our language around how we work with people, especially around crisis. So whilst we ideally aren't working with people in the peak of a crisis where they potentially don't have those really basic like food, housing, safety sorted, we will work with people as they go in and out of crisis during recovery, because we know that is part of recovery. It's not linear. It's not if it was an A to B thing, then that would be wonderful, but it's not. We're really kind of much more flexible about when we'll work with people, and it's about their capacity and ability to engage is more important than where they are in their recovery. Thank you, Gunjan. So this slide really just gives you a summary of what our support can look like. So as I said, we have a team of hub coordinators who are the first people that someone will connect with, and really start that exploratory phase of the reason why someone's called us. And I'm saying calling because that is the most common way that people connect with us. Their needs and, how can FIH assist? Lots of times people, we get a lot of calls from people who are like, I read it, it kind of makes sense, or someone told me about it and thought it might make sense for me. So I'm calling you to find out if you make sense for me. Very rarely do people call, surprise, and say, hi, I'm experiencing financial abuse, please help. That is not the presentation, unsurprisingly. So our frontline hub coordinator team are just, that's they pick out those threads and try and put them together and help someone kind of go on that journey of understanding what's happening in their life. And, due to the nature of financial abuse, people are often doubting themselves, but they kind of are like, this doesn't make any sense. Or they've had a call from someone, a debtor or said, excuse me, and they're like, I don't even know what this is about. I don't know why this person's calling me. And that starts to unravel the story. Their job really is about helping someone go through that. And we've done a number of evaluations over the course of our 4 years, and those are the conversations that participants feedback as being really beneficial and helpful, as those kind of unpacking and understanding financial abuse. So we do a lot of those conversations. We help connect people through to other services. I'm sure we can all attest to how complicated and complex we've made our service systems and navigation. Even as professionals, it can be really tricky, let alone for someone who doesn't have the lingo, the language, or understand their own needs to advocate for themselves. So we will support someone with that. And our financial counsellors do lots of that work around advocacy with banks and lenders. And of course, we have those conversations around exploring financial grants and availability, so EVP and state equivalent supports as well. But yeah, that is our kind of initial piece of work. And then, thank you, Gunjan. We provide that longer term support. So financial counselling can also be long term. It actually does take a long time to unpack things and also to get results from creditors. So our financial counsellors are highly experienced family violence trained financial counsellors. So they're used to unpicking really complex pieces, but it does take a lot of time to unpack all of that and then wait for creditors to make a decision around any waivers. But I can share with you that last year they supported people to waive around about $1 million. So it's a huge amount of money that they're able to support people with. And so the journey for someone generally starts as hub coordinator, explore issues, often connecting people to other services or advocating as well with other services, trying to understand barriers to accessing those. Dealing with that primary issue is they need financial counselling, that have to have financial counselling, but often people come with debts. And then they, if they choose to, may access that longer term financial coaching. They don't have to do things linear. I'm just setting it out linear to make sense of it, but often people do bits and pieces as they journey through, and they can step up and step down depending on what's going on. And that's quite common if someone's working with a financial counsellor and a coach, is they'll be doing lots of work with the financial counsellor and not really working with the coach, but then when they're waiting for the creditors to make decisions, which can often be months sometimes, they'll kind of do more of that future focus work depending on their capacity and needs. But the coaching space is really that resetting, setting some goals, what are the actions to get there, and really setting people up for success beyond the program. So this is, where we're really focusing on looking at their security, we go through a checklist, and making sure people have got all the bits and pieces that they need to financially recover. Sometimes it's passports, changing beneficiaries on super. These things get missed, obviously, when leaving and recovering. And so we take those time to go through. And sometimes people will identify this, I had this bank account ages ago. I don't really know what happened with it. So helping them kind of unpack all of that and kind of get back to resetting and rebuilding. A lot of the work that the team do, certainly in the early piece of this, is very much confidence building. So people come into this feeling like they have no confidence with their finances. And that's linked to obviously the financial abuse, but I think it's also linked to a bigger societal thing around how much money education we all get through childhood and adulthood. Talking about money isn't something necessarily that people are very comfortable with. So a lot of this is also us taking people on that journey of understanding money, feeling more comfortable, and then really looking at those longer term goals. We might not be there to see the fruition of those goals because some of them can be long term. Someone wants to save for a house, I'm well aware of the Sydney market, so that is not happening in the life of working with FIH, quite probably. But it's about how does people set up those actions and those steps to success so they can achieve those beyond working with us. Yeah, and super flexible. People can have coaching as frequently as we can manage from a service provision point of view, but there's no kind of requirement around frequency, duration of coaching, or how long. We do also, as you can see in there on the yellow, we do talk about people about appropriate finance. We do have an FIH interest-free loan that is available as part of coaching to support people with achieving their financial independence goals. So it's not, you may know that Good Shepherd does nils. It's not one of those kind of front door loans where you can knock on the door and say, like you can with nils, and say, hi, I'd like a no interest loan. It's actually part of program engagement because that loan does go up to $15,000. So we have to do a lot more around responsible lending and making sure someone is safe and that they're the right person accessing the money and not that we're involved in a cycle of abuse as well. Thank you, Gunjan. So this slide, importantly, comes from the feedback that we've received from people with lived experience who've used the program. So as you can see on the left, that's the participants' perspectives of their experiences. And these are probably things that you'd expect us to do as a financial abuse recovery service. So being trauma informed, having privacy, etc. But interestingly, and I think this is that bit between what we think we provide and then what people say they find of most benefit. But the things in purple on the right-hand side are the things that participants time and again have called out as the most important things about what we do. So like I said at the beginning, taking people through that journey of understanding financial abuse and how it happens and trying to reduce some of that shame is a lot of, what we do, as I called out, the really practical stuff around money management, including budgeting, setting goals for the future, and as I called out around our entry process, we try to make things easy for people. So like I said, most people do call us on the phone. We do Teams calls as well, but we have found that the phone has been really popular. People find it easy because they can be anywhere, and also because they can fit it between the myriad of things that they're juggling. But we will meet people in person where we can as well, if that's their preferred modality. Thanks, Gunjan. So I do have a little video to share with you so you can hear from people with lived experience. But just in terms of how to refer, I'll put a couple of links in the chat while that video is playing. But in terms of if you want to refer someone yourself, you can call the number. We do also have a referral form for professional referrers. So I will put that link to the referral form in the chat as well as the FIH website. Our phone number's on there and our hours are on there. But yeah, if anyone is interested in that co-location piece and us working in your service or alongside you, please do reach out. We do also, as an entryway into FIH, run a group financial wellbeing session program. And how we deliver that is partnering with people who run groups. So if you're someone who does group work as part of your service provision, we'd love to talk to you. So what we do is, often we know other services are running multi-week groups in a term, and we will go in as 1 week as talking about financial wellbeing. We do not say, hey, we're here to talk about financial abuse. We talk about financial wellbeing and independence. So we talk about what it is to be financially well and financially independent. And then we talk about indicators when this might be not working in your relationships, and what to do if that becomes you, or you realise that is actually what's happening for you. And then we can stay in the service and talk to people and welcome them into the program that way, or they can call us later. So we are keen to keep expanding that, because it's been a really supportive way to help people access the program who are never going to call us, but are engaged with other services, and we use those pathways of trust to talk to people and let them know about the program. And we found as well, the feedback from other professionals has been that they found that really helpful, because they feel like they need to know less about what finances is and what we do, because we can come in and do that kind of group approach directly with their participants. So I'll pop some links and things in while you guys are watching this, but Gunjan, if you're happy to play, that would be amazing.
My financial abuse left me feeling very lost, very hurt, and very alone.
I was really dealing with low confidence. I felt subhuman.
I felt ashamed mostly about where I was and my life. Rather than being codependent, I needed to find my independence.
I knew I had to find somebody to help me. I just felt I couldn't do it on my own anymore.
I was ready to get my finances in order and regain financial stability.
So I did the right thing and I asked for help. Good Shepherd came along and saved the day and referred me to the Financial Independence Hub, where, everything changed.
Financial Independence Hub reached out to some of the providers that I owed some money to, helped me get on some payment plans, and helped me get my life back on track.
I ended up getting $1,300 ahead in my rent, and I was on top with my other bills.
The plan was negotiated together. It wasn't like, this is what you should do. It was, what do you think you should do and what are the options? I found my sense of self. I could achieve things on my own. I didn't need to depend on anyone anymore.
I can see, if I keep chipping away at it, that it is possible to live the life that I want to live.
Good Shepherd are so beautiful. They are non-judgmental. They will help you in every way possible.
So if you or anyone you know is been through some financial abuse, then search Financial Independence Hub, because you deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you, Louise. That was wonderful. And it was really good to hear from both of you, Gunjan as well. That was fabulous. Thank you. Yeah, we're very lucky that we've got this kind of partnership working with you, and we certainly want to be working more closely to ensure our members have the access they need with these programs. And I think it is really important that I remember when I first caught up with Gunjan and we were talking about the next chapter and the fact that the program's accessible to anyone beyond CommBank. You don't have to bank with CommBank to get the help from the next chapter. So that's really key. And I just also want to acknowledge to the members that Commonwealth Bank are sponsoring our conference and have been doing so for the last now 3 conferences. So a big shout out and thanks to CommBank for that. That helps us keep membership conference ticket prices down and still keeps the quality of the conference. So huge thanks there. And again, thank you, Louise, for bringing your heart and soul into that presentation. That was great. So questions, everybody. Do we have questions from our members today? And if not, I'll start. Louise, you mentioned the co-location kind of partnership working. What does that look like? And is there an example of an organisation you're doing that with?
Thank you. Great question. it can look like, so what we try to do with everything in FIH is really niche and with the organization and what their participants and the people that come in need. So, at very basic level, it can be that we can come and, we can come work from your building very basically. But really what we look to do is how can we integrate the FIH person into your workplace? So really about how can we have a champion in your site who can be their buddy for the day, because it's really hard to go and work somewhere where you don't know people. Can you go in and do that? We will happily run sessions with teams to say, hey, this is FIH, and so how we normally do that is a bit of a spill, a bit like today, but then give us some examples of people you work through. Let's work through that together if we'd be the right person or where we might signpost someone to. So we know that this isn't an easy issue to talk about for some people. It's not easy to tackle. Plus, everyone's time poor. We get it. So we're also, we understand that people are time poor. So we want to just help really connect your clients into the hub. And we know that being physically present can really help with that. We're happy to run, and we do run group financial wellbeing sessions in people's venues where we're co-locating. So it's that another pathway in, again, that relies on us running that group with a bit of help from you to find people. But again, so it's really about, I guess, a helping model where we're trying to help the clients that you might be working with have support from the hub and continue that recovery journey. So we do that with a number of services. One place where it's really successful, which I will tell you, is about in Melbourne. So we do work with InTouch, which is the multicultural FDV service. We co-locate there, and we work with them around how can we work with your clients? What do we need to change about the way we talk about things? How can we, really finesse our marketing and the way we speak and the examples we use in the group, what examples in groups would resonate with the people that you're working with. So that's how we try to approach it. And I guess that is all obviously time consuming, but what we found is the work and plonk model, as I call it, which is you just go and sit inside. It's really hard to work when everyone's so busy around you. It needs to be a lot more relational. So that's definitely one of our key learnings with that.
Amazing. And I think those practical pieces in terms of what people's experiences were, but then what actually helped is actually really kind of insightful and important.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask as well is around the Escaping Family Violence programme and what's Good Shepherd's experience of that, because the DV New South Wales members have had their concerns at points. We know there's been huge improvements. But what's your experience of working with clients accessing the EVP? That would definitely be something our members would like to know.
Yeah, and Delia, what I'll say is I'm going to give you a really high level answer, and I can give a more detailed answer when I ask the people that do that role. And I always like to be honest about that.
Always,
because I'm not obviously doing that. What I know is that anecdotally, people can get that it's frustrating sometimes. And I think particularly, I think for us being such an open program, that the time frame can be challenging, that vouching for people can feel really incongruent, I think, with how we feel. So I think those are definitely the things that have been fed up to me in terms of that unease that people can feel about the process and it being very arbitrary sometimes. So I don't know if that's a shared thing. Hopefully I'm not completely off track.
You're on track.
that is my high level that's been, but I don't if you'd like details to support that, I'm absolutely happy to go and get those.
Yeah, it's always helpful, and obviously DV New South Wales is always advocating to ensure that some of that kind of those layers of over assessing clients is addressed. So we appreciate that you're across that too. Final question for you both. Oh, we have a question. Amazing. Delia Donovan, stop, go, going. So Tia, would you like to ask a question? Hi.
Hi, sorry, my camera's not working. I'm so sorry. So I'm a sexual, domestic, and family violence counsellor working with LGBTQIA plus community. I guess it's not specific to do with the oh my goodness, the Financial Independence Hub, but more to do with the no interest loans. And most recently, I've been trying to support a client in getting a loan for, rental arrears for a bond as a means of staying in their current location. Why is it, would you say, that they put limits on how people can spend the loan? I just don't feel like it's very dignity driven, and I'm wondering if there's more advocacy that maybe could be done around that, or yeah, how I could maybe support a client in that, or if you just had any, just so I can understand better why that's the way it is, because it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I'll go, and Gunjan's probably got an extra layer to add from a financial institution point of view. And Tia, I'm happy to, if there's anything we can do to support, like, or understand and direct, like, please feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with the team. But a lot of those restrictions and rules exist because of responsible lending and overarching financial agreements that we have to have in place. So I think that, yeah, it's about what are the other options that we can explore for that person if their loan requirement isn't within the scope. Are there other ways that they can use the loan to help them? So I'm definitely happy to have more conversation and connect you with the right people in Good Shepherd just to explore that in more detail. So yeah, my email is in there if you want to pop me through an email, I can help connect you through.
Thank you. That would be really appreciated.
No problem. Can't promise solutions, but I can definitely explore it more fully for you.
And same for me as
Amazing.
well. Yes, absolutely happy to support any particular queries that you might have on behalf of your clients. And I realize there's another question whether there's financial planning offered by the program. No, we don't get into financial planning because that's again very highly regulated. So financial advice is out of the construct, but financial coaching is definitely what the team provides.
Thank you,
Can I
Gunjan.
ask, sorry, I was going to ask a question. I have a client that is in rent arrears. Would I do a referral to the Financial Independent Hub, or would I suggest a Nils loan? And sorry if the question's really basic, I'm just a little bit confused.
Oh no, so I think just to clarify, there's two different things. So the NILS, which is the Good Shepherd no interest loan, which has existed for many, many, many years. That is as I would call it, a front door loan service. So you can call the NILS team and talk about a loan. With FIH, obviously the main criteria someone needs to meet is that they've experienced family violence and financial abuse. The loan for that is available through coaching. So it's not immediate and it takes some time to work through the process. So it's not intended to be an immediate fix solution. It's intended to be a product that helps someone to achieve their longer term goals. So for example, sometimes people use that money to buy, things to access employment, which might be clothing, might be education, it might be access to courses, it might be equipment, all of those things, after exploring all the other support that's available, always the ecology piece. But it takes time to get there. So it's not intended to be an immediate quick fix. If you're looking for an immediate loan, then NILS is that's what they do. That's their bread and butter. They provide no interest loans, but they are limited by the amount that they can have, which is $2,000, unless you're having a vehicle which is slightly higher. So yeah, that is the difference. But what I always encourage people to do is just give us a call. We're happy to have a chat and do a consult with you and try and signpost you to the right place. We know it's not easy to always ring the right number, so we're very happy to take calls and help, guide and direct as well.
Thank you.
No
This
problem.
same client has accessed a car loan through Baptist Care, through the NILS loan, but now has been told they no longer do that. Do you know about that?
Yeah.
So
that's all. Unfortunately, that is all the car loan. The NILS for cars through other providers is no longer available because it's a funding issue. But what I would suggest is to call NILS and have a chat with them, because they will be able to help guide you and your client. But if not, feel free to call the hub and we will try and help as well.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye.
Amazing. And there's a final question, then I'm going to have to close. It might be something we follow up via email, but Evelyn said, do you support women who survive DV, but not specifically financial abuse? So I'm guessing it's probably more towards financial impacts, but
it's financial impacts. And so what I would say, given, you know, I don't mean to preach stats at people that work in this every day, because it always feels really awkward. But, you know, I mean, given that we know that 90% of people who present for service have experienced financial impacts and financial abuse, the chances are that even if you rock up to us and you don't know that you have, you may well, it's likely. And for a 10% variance, I think we can probably just, you know, be open to that. So yeah, we're not going to be on the phone and say, well, sorry, you haven't experienced that. I think it's about being realistic about that. If we know 90% of people that present, well, that's only the people presenting anyway. We know not everyone presents. So I think we can just be a little flexible.
Yeah, amazing. Well, with that flexibility, we'll encourage our members to certainly reach out to Louise and Gunjan. I think there's some contact details that have been provided in the chat box. And just a massive thank you. I think we just warmed up there, so the questions were just getting started. But any follow-ups, everybody, email admin@dvnsw.org.au and we can reach out, or you've got the contact details. And our huge thank yous. And I'm sure this conversation is going to be ongoing and needs to be. So I'm sure we'll be inviting you back for a part 2 at some point as well. Thank you both very much. And thank you, members. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone. Take care.
Cheers.